Neither did I.
Didn't either.
And you connected it to your channel, obviously.
Yeah.
All right.
So you get the option when you're in the meeting, you live stream. Okay, let's play some music.
That is it. Cheat. Alex, send Malky the flyer so she can throw it up.
All right. Oh, no, she's on the laptop. So she's supposed to have it.
I like the one that you guys had. I don't have that one.
So how is it that you don't have it and you're the one that edited it?
The ones that you guys have. Ambassador.
Yeah, sorry.
The flyer that you guys have. I don't have that one.
All right, Alex, you have it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Hold on, let me see if I can forward it to you, Malky. Hold on.
She's not on her phone.
That's a real link now, Alex. You can forward that link out.
Yeah. I sent it to the email, girl.
There's a new link that you.
It's the same link, bro.
It's not the same link.
It's not the same link as it did for
No.
Yes, it's the same link.
Really? Oh, my bad. Now check your WhatsApp.
I don't see it in the email. Did you send it yet?
I think it's in your WhatsApp.
I'm not on the phone.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Text me WhatsApp. Text me email, Malkia. Or Alex, text me too.
We are now one Gumbaka, we are now one. We are now one. We are now
It's SHEP, that's done. Ends with SMM@gmail, right, Malika? Sorry.
You see the flyer now? You see our inbox.
We are now one Gumbaka, we are now one. We are now one.
All right, that was it. It was sent. Okay. And post this on social media. Let's get this going, guys. Let's talk about this country.
Okay, I was actually hoping for the picture that you guys shared with the edits from, the updated picture. That's what I'm looking for.
I did.
Don't have.
I did.
Okay, can we proceed without it? It's taking a
Yeah,
time.
let's go. Yeah, we can go.
All right. Are we going to give it some time for people to join?
Yeah, I'm putting it out right now. I was just waiting for us to get ready. Alex, you sent it out on your side as well?
I just put out a broadcast.
Okay, so people are watching now. 13 people are watching now. I see that. All right. Okay, they're commenting. Greetings, family.
Greetings, everyone. Okay.
Let me get the picture up. Greetings, family. Welcome to Tribal Talk, where we educate, stimulate, and motivate. Guys, are you hearing?
Yes. Greetings, Malkia. Thank you so much for the
Peace
invite.
and love, everyone.
Peace be upon everybody. Peace be upon the listeners. Hope all is well. Let's have a very intriguing discussion and exciting discussion of the state of this nation. It's crazy out there. We're seeing some hot topics, I'm sure that are definitely scratching many heads.
No,
I
brother.
believe we have three of the best minds on this topic, and I am indeed grateful for the invite onto Tribal Tea Talk. I believe this platform should and will become a very informative platform as we start to continue this consistency of drilling home certain information that has probably been kept away from the average people in certain forums. Definitely was not in the curriculum when we were attending high school and college here. So I yield the floor to the hosts, both Alex and Malkia, and I send greetings to everybody, the listeners. Please, listeners, share it with a friend, share it with somebody. We're going to be discussing some very hot topics tonight. One of the most controversial topics right now is the deportation crisis with what is considered the TCN, the
Third country.
third
Yes.
country national,
Yeah.
right? And every day it seems like the goalpost is moving. But yeah, let's have everybody send it out to at least one friend. Keep sharing that link. Let's have a hot and spicy conversation. I yield to you, Alex Amalkia.
Awesome.
Peace, peace be with everyone. Before we begin this discussion, of course, we have to remember the Almighty Creator, King Zambi Mupungu. We have to remember the Nkisi, the spirits of nature, and we have to remember Nkuyu, our ancestors, Bakulo, who all watch over us, take care of us, protect us, and maintain our happy state of being. We ask, we petition, we will and decree that this discussion will be of merit, that it will bring benefit, and that it will bring awareness to all the people who are witness to it and experience it away.
All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Welcome to Tribal Tea Talk again. Today we are discussing this deportee deal and what is now being called the deportee crisis. I think we can start by taking a dive into this article here by the Jamaica Gleaner. It was published on the 16th of June, 2026. All right. So it says Kingston and Washington are expected to begin talks on an agreement first pitched by a senior Jamaican government official that could see the island accepting up to 10,000 non-Jamaicans being deported from the United States. A document from the United States Embassy in Kingston, seen by the Gleaner, outlines the operational framework for the proposed Third Country Nationals (TCN) agreement, which has triggered controversy in several countries that have entered into similar arrangements with Washington. The TCN deals came under local scrutiny last year when a Jamaican man, Orville Etoria, was deported from the United States to the African country of Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, in July with no ties to that nation. Following intense international scrutiny and diplomatic pushback, the Eswatini government released and repatriated him to Jamaica in late September 2025, and he was reunited with his family. Under the proposed Memorandum of Understanding, the U.S. would transfer up to 25 foreign nationals every 2 weeks to Jamaica for an unspecified period. This is expected to be a case-by-case arrangement, the draft MOU said, in which the U.S. may use its discretion to propose transfers, and the government may, in its discretion, consider accepting the proposal in whole or in part. The arrangement would explicitly exclude unaccompanied minors, Jamaicans, and individuals convicted of serious criminal offenses to the extent known to the U.S. government, except in cases involving violations of U.S. immigration laws. So I could go on reading this argument, this article, but firstly, Ambassador, what is your take so far of this article and this proposal?
Well, all right, where do we start? Because they do say context does matter. So, historically, we understand that since 1962, the US has definitely ensured that um, cooperative deals, agreements, mutually beneficial agreements between partners for, security and stability within the region, trade agreements, things has been, proposed upon Jamaica, and I'm assuming reciprocated as best as we can. We're a small island developing state. So as best as we can reciprocate, I'm sure Jamaica tries to in order to try and maintain great relations. We do have to bring up the context of remittances. We do have to bring up the context of our people, looking at the visa as almost God, and this opportunity, because unfortunately, the Jamaica has not invested into certain infrastructure over the last 63 years where it would actually cause this brain drain to kind of decline, right? We're at such a high peak point that people want to leave. So what do I mean by all of this context? Because this context is driving the issue right now where not just the government, but I believe a majority of the people are fearful now that the government of Jamaica has put out what I would consider a PR campaign right now to kind of pacify the temperature of the people, which is to express that, the United States, Uncle Sam, as they would say, would have used the big whip and force them in a corner to say that if you did not take this request or these agreements, things would have happened to the island, right? Repercussions were coming. You would have lost it. They actually said it in the paper. We would have lost our visas, apparently, average people. Now, that is definitely going to start to scratch the heads of many people and cause internal panic into the decision of what is the morally right thing in terms of for God and country, right? What would be the less compromising posture and position to take regarding this agreement? And um, my outlook right now, because we're not really getting much from the government of Jamaica, it seems that the goalpost, as I said, every day changes. We don't understand what the agreement really entails, expresses in detail. We're just getting pieces. And I understand why they're doing that, obviously, because they didn't come to the people initially to ask the people, what did we think? Let the people then decide, yes, we want to keep our visas. Let us at least hold a hard line in certain places. No, we're now hearing that people are going to be dumped off in Jamaica. Then we hear, on one side of the fence that it's going to be the undesirables, it's going to be the worst of the worst, it's going to be pedophiles, it's going to be murderers, etc. Then we're hearing it's not going to be that, it's going to be, just regular people. But then it begs the question, there is international law and there's immigration law. There are laws against human trafficking and things of this nature, how do you just place people in a transit status to another country when legally they may have been filing for asylum, or they may be filing for various status adjustments according to international law and immigration law. And if they're not able to do that and they're now being swept up and pushed through to another country, bearing in mind that their home country, they can't go back to their home country, whether the home country won't take them because they're persona non grata, or whether they are saying that they're fearful for going back for their life, right? So here we are where we find ourselves that even up to today, I was speaking with Chief Richard Curry and a couple other like minds on the topic, and I said, wait a second, now that the journalists are starting to come out and ask the question, what if people come? What if these 25 each every 2 weeks start coming and asking to apply for asylum, right? What then? Where do they go? Where do we put them? What happens? We have Melissa that just happened the other day, and were able to spend 1.8% of all of that money that came in. And we barely were able to actually create an actual effect in terms of helping those people. So if I'm to sum it up, Malkia, my position at this, it has left a bitter taste in the mouths and a bitter outlook in the minds of the people. I think people are very confused as to why the government, even though we understand the context of the pressure from Uncle Sam, why the government just doesn't come clean and say something so that the people can start to understand better the context of why this decision was thrusted upon us. Because if it is that we had no choice, I mean, at the very least, we deserve the truth now. In hindsight, in 2020, I yield.
And I echo those words, Ambassador. I have a question though, because this is a hot topic all across. Everyone is talking about it. You're hearing even updates on the topic from various angles, and I want to know: are the people in a compound talking about this?
Absolutely. People in Akampong are talking about it. Because remember, we have a big conversation for us Maroons right now out there, which is Crown lands, right? These treaty lands, right? And it is something that is still a topic that is unresolved between, I believe, the Jamaican Maroons, not just the Akampong Maroons. I believe between the Leeward and the Windward Maroons together, we have unsettled business with the government of Jamaica. As you guys are well versed and know and can also expound after me on regarding the two franchises that exist in Jamaica historically, which give the Jamaican Maroons this for lack of a better way to say it, so we don't have any judgment or creating any division, but a special status in Jamaica. And the reason why I say it like that, because I have noticed over the years, it's very difficult for one Jamaican to look at another Jamaican and say, why are you more special than me regarding a status? It almost creates this quote unquote bad mind culture that we have had. But because of the lack of understanding culture or grown in a cultural manner from youth and actually maintaining a consistency of history, we've lost touch of that as a nation
Yes,
of
and I definitely think that we can do a better job in terms of connecting, with each other and with the wider Jamaica and the world in general, in terms of bridging the gap and seeing how we can collaborate towards our common interest, because this is an issue that affects all of us. Everyone is talking about it. The Maroons are talking about it. Everywhere you go in wider Jamaica, you're hearing it, you're seeing it all over social media. So I think that this is something that everyone is concerned about. And I think also we are concerned about the fact that the information is changing. So at first you heard that, it was, whether it's the government that proposed it, whether it's the other country that proposed, whose idea was it, and what's the plan? Because we need to know, okay, if these people are supposed to be coming in, what and what framework is this all gonna take place under? How will they be provided for? Because in my understanding, evidently we didn't have the resources, it would seem, to facilitate the Haitians when they showed up.
Exactly.
When they showed up right there, we didn't have
Exactly.
the resources. So I would just want to know, has anything changed? Has the situation, has the economy changed as such, but for which we can now facilitate and accommodate new migrants coming in? And, also, I know that, as you mentioned earlier, we recently suffered a hurricane, and the second year in a row too. People are
Yeah.
forgetting that right before this last hurricane, we had one right before, the year before,
Beryl. Yeah, Beryl.
right? So, we're still recovering from those natural shocks in Jamaica. And I know the population in Jamaica still has things to work out. So how are we in that, and are we prepared now facilitate new people coming in? What are the what mechanisms are in place to facilitate that? That's a question that I would ask.
Mhm. I agree with you, Malky. I concur. And I think where we need to take it as Maroons, for our listeners right now, in terms of the educating part, is where we in our, I wouldn't say quiet time, but in our discussions, offline, we mainly stick to the point of, the Maroon agenda. Where does the Maroon find themselves in this political atmosphere? And, the main question usually comes up is, what makes you Maroon? I go back to what I was saying, this special status right here in Jamaica, these two franchises. And why I believe we as Maroons, especially in this modern time, need to do a better job of expressing to the people. And I heard Hope the other day, Hope vocals on TVJ, when they asked her the question, what makes you a Maroon, right? And I love what she ended up saying. She just hit it right at the bat. She's like, most of Jamaica is a Maroon, right? Most people, if they know their history, they know they trace their history, they're Maroons. And this is a good point of reference, because I think we need to start drilling this home. And priest Alex and myself were having this discussion that, just like other ethnic groups that are out there, when they express why they believe, they are special, or why they believe they've been given these things and they hold so dear and true to them, it's the consistency of the push, and it's the unity and centralization of that push and mindset together that allows these things to be manifested. Yes, I think Jamaica is at that turning point now where people need to know that there are these two franchises. Like, you don't just have to choose a colonial political team, right? If you want to talk the language of the average man now, since FIFA and football are gone, right? You don't have to choose the colonial side, right? There is a side that people fought in blood, and people, our ancestors fought for us. We never, right now, we don't even want to burn two tire outside for our rights. We don't even want to raise our voice because people afraid them get pulled from under one bed. And I have to
You know,
apologize to the officials. Sorry, Malkia, go ahead.
a lot of sometimes people think that, when you're talking about your Maroon heritage, that you're trying to be divisive, and I don't think that that's the case, because okay, even the Prime Minister mentioned the other day, the Honorable Prime Minister mentioned that a period in Jamaica's history wherein, after the Morant Bay War, where
Right,
Parliament was dissolved and the British started governing Jamaica directly, right? And
right.
it was only after that that governance was restored in Jamaica, wherein Jamaica was allowed to have its own parliament and local representation.
Yeah,
But
man. Talk,
while
sister.
all of while all of that was taking place, the Maroons still existed and were still self-governing. So it's not a case of a just come thing, as
Right.
they would say. This was happening before, while the British were still figuring things out. When their king or queen, their monarch at the time, said, "Okay, you know what? I don't think you guys are handling things well."
Correct.
Then,
Correct.
right. So I'm gonna take over, because you caused this big thing in St. Thomas. So many of the people died. What are you doing?
Right.
So while all of that was happening, people are not looking at things in a historical context and through a historical lens. And sometimes history is spoken of in isolation, as if while one thing was happening, everything else froze, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So while this was happening, the Maroons were still there. The Maroons were
You,
still governing ourselves.
you know what we need to do, Alex? I would love for you to step in, Alex, and let's discuss going back to the 1600s, right? Let's start to explain this franchise a little bit more, where this birthright has a little piece of the history of this culmination of this special status, and why most of it is canvas for Jamaicans at large that are born here. that has a trace of that bloodline going back to those times. Not these new Jamaicans that are now coming over from other places and naturalizing, right? We know that there's a difference, and we don't mean to try and be. They're using a term xenophobic. We're not xenophobic, but we have to
No,
understand
no,
that.
it's okay to have pride in our heritage and
There
our
you go.
history.
Yeah,
If that
yeah,
it's okay to do that. And just
yes.
a moment, I'd like to give greetings to everyone that's watching right now. I see you guys messaging in the chat. Greetings to
Yes, let's
everyone.
talk to them. Let's talk to them.
Yes, Alafia Medina, greetings. Dane Marston,
Greetings,
greetings. Queen
greetings,
Asul, greetings,
greetings.
sister.
Listen,
Asante Kotoko.
let everybody send it to somebody, send it to a friend. We're about to drop some powerful information. We're about to drop some secret history that has never been exposed to the regular average Jamaicans. We're about to
Yes,
talk about that esoteric knowledge, what Maroons know that create this specialness, right? Why is
yes.
it? A matter of fact, let me provoke the system a little bit, right? Because I'm somebody that them seem to have a target for sometimes, right? So let me just provoke the system and do them some justice. It is quite interesting that most average quote unquote Jamaicans, they wonder if Maroons identify as Jamaicans. Yes, we are the First Nation Jamaicans. I think you both would concur on that. I would, when you guys speak, I want you guys just to drop it and lay it on the people, because even if they don't have a lot of people right now, people will share this video after, because the knowledge that is about to be released. But I really and truly feel, right, that there has to come a point, guys, where the people understand the franchise, they understand the choice, and they understand why maybe Kanye had said slavery was a choice and people did choose to be slaves, right? I know, Alex, me and you always have this conversation when we ready to get raw. Some people may not like how we talk, but the truth is, it is what it is, because most Jamaicans, when the Supreme Court of Judicature of Jamaica makes a statement and thing, because of the lack of knowledge and the position of law, they may just submit. Nobody is not saying that we're breaking any laws or we don't respect the jurisdiction of the courts, or a matter of fact, respect the Constitution of Jamaica, right? That is not what is being said, but it's to understand the positioning in law and the status in law, and and where do you find yourself constitutionally. And if anybody wants to know the true power, here it is. It's unfolding over and over and over, where the court wanted to intervene into a lawful process of the people, an independent franchise that was having an election was being interfered with. And what we witness is that franchise taking the self-determination, right, and taking the independent decision as a council that is constituted in order to move forward with their political forum. Yes. And we're speaking about what would have happened in a compound. Now, if people want to understand, wait a second. If the government says something, is it always right? No, the answer is no. It's not always right. They're right sometimes and they're wrong sometimes, right? We can say 50-50 right now for this podcast. Yes. I don't want to get in trouble. So, but the point is here, and I'll yield, is that we need to find a way, Alex and Malkia. We have to find a way to use this information to fire up the spirits of the people again. Whether it's firing up the young warriors, because I'm getting to understand the people don't really like to read right now because of TikTok and Instagram and the doom scrolling dopamine psychology that is going on, right? We have to be putting out these videos. We have to find ways to connect with them and to connect with this information that you guys are about to help me to speak about. And nobody better, to be honest with you, I will submit and say that both of you together, you both minds, carry a deep portion of Jamaica's history. And I think it's your time to now shine. So I'm gonna yield. Please, Alex, speak about the 1600s and bring us up to 1962. Listeners, if I were you, I would immediately grab a pen and paper and share this link with your friends and family.
All right. So we say Yenge Kino, peace and love to one and all once again. Thank you for those who have been able to join. This is the first, it won't be the last, right? And you know, there are some kinks and such that we have to work out. Now, there were some things that have been being discussed, and the first thing that I'd like to address is what the ambassador said about is the government always correct? There is one landmark case that is often ignored, and this was the NIDS case, the National Identification System that they're bringing in, and it was the Member of Parliament Julian Robinson from the People's National Party that carried a case against stating that this NIDS thing was a violation of our right to privacy and other things. And this case was so monumental because the Chief Justice Brian Sykes, he handled the case directly, and he said that he wanted to deliver this judgment directly to the people of Jamaica. And so he went on TV, he was on radio, he was live online, delivering a judgment. He did not want the media to interpret it for him. And he emphasized the right of Jamaican people to dissent. Dissent is when you don't agree with what the government is doing. And he made it abundantly clear that there's a lord, you know, in England, whatever, there's law lord, a lord diplomat that made it clear that it is a rebuttable presumption that a government or members of parliament or government officials overall are correct in their actions. Okay. Now, Jamaica is a situation such as this. Jamaica has been occupied by the British since 1655, and before that, the Spanish since 1494. And one of the main things that we have to get into context is who was here when those occupations took place. And it must be made abundantly clear that there were people here, indigenous people, aboriginal people of this land, who were here, our ancestors. Those people, observing all of the various movements of this colonial enterprise that the Europeans, who we call Bakra, were dealing with and had in mind the occupation that they were carrying out. They observed it, they noticed that people were being dragged into Jamaica, human trafficking. They call it slavery. Slavery or the slave trade is interestingly has become an abstract concept where slavery is just a historical term. They don't want to call what the Europeans did, what some of these businesses that still exist in England and in Spain today, some of these church organizations of the Catholic Church, etc., still exist. And they don't want to call it for what it is and what it was, and that's human trafficking. So when the indigenous ancestors saw those Africans being trafficked into Jamaica as a labor force, a free labor, they did what they could do, and they encouraged as many of them as possible to come and join them in the mountains, in the safe spaces that they lived in. In those times, the ancestors called their communities Yukayeke, right? And they forged new communities, okay? And primarily at that time, the Africans that were being brought into Jamaica were primarily Bakongo people from Central Africa, Congo people, right? And even to this day in Akompong, you have a Bakongo Congo cemetery. It's right beside the famous Kinder tree. right? And every year, 6th of January, right, which was always a sacred time to the Bakongo people, all of the triumph over trial and tribulation continues to take place in a compound, just the same. Very sacred mile pilgrimage that we make year after year. Right? And all the other every year on 6th of January. I'm getting okay. The situation, well, before I was saying that all of the so-called Maroon communities have their celebrations. I know we are in the time of the celebration of Charleston,
Right.
right? So those of you who can make it to Buff Bay Valley, right, on the banks of the White River in Buff Bay, um, go out and enjoy Charleston celebration. Next month, we're having our annual Kumina celebration in East Portland, in Fairy Hill.
Yeah.
Just keep in touch with us because what we're doing is reminding our people of who they are.
Yes.
The colonial enterprise saw these two peoples, the first people of this land and the Africans who joined them, coming together. And this is in essence who Jamaican people are,
Right.
right? Jamaican people are the people of the land, ultimately, because you have a parent that is of a space, and that parent marries someone else from another space. Do you not have the birthright of both spaces? Yes,
Yeah.
you do,
Yes, you do.
right? We are exhausted of hearing people tell us that we are not indigenous. The people of Jamaica, we're not going to say anymore that Maroons are indigenous. The people of Jamaica, the dark-skinned people of Jamaica are indigenous
That is
and
correct.
have what they call ius soli, right of soil, and ius sanguinis, right of
Yes.
blood.
Lord.
Right of privity of blood and right of privity of birth.
That's right.
Okay? So this is our entitlement. Now, in 1665, when the British invaded, this is a turning point in Jamaica and must not be understated the importance of this moment and what happened and where we are today. The British were unable to truly make any headway into Jamaica without some kind of agreement. Okay? It must be made abundantly clear. It was a matter in which we have an ancestor, Juan de Bolas, Juan Lobolo, that is often seen as a traitor, called a traitor, but his story is not known, and we must speak about it.
This is during the time of the Spanish, right, Alex? You're talking.
Yeah, man. So this is 1655. We're at the
Right.
moment of we're dealing with 1655 to 1665.
Right. So
That first
transitioning now
period
from Spanish to the British now.
to the British, correct? And our communities, they weren't called Maroon towns. They're called palenques
That's right.
originally. And there was a Jewish captain, British military captain. He was a Jew with British citizenship or subject to British king. Um, named Kempo, Kempo Sibada, Sybada, Kempo Sibada. When he brought the ground forces into Jamaica, they encountered a dark-skinned indigenous man riding a horse, well dressed. And I don't know how many of you saw the Hollywood movie Django
Wait. You
Unchained.
said he saw a man on a horse.
Yes.
Sound like Django.
Yeah, man. And when the in the movie Django, the Bakras came onto the scene and saw this Django riding this horse, they were like, I
What's
don't
going
want to
on
use the
here?
word, you know, but they used the N word and said, "Is that one of those people riding a horse?
Right.
Is that for real?" Right?
Yeah, but
It was
coupon
the
with two
same.
boat we are right horse. We,
Yeah,
we
man.
bossy.
Right.
And it was the
And
same
what a
reaction.
time to be having this discussion coming out of Juneteenth, eh?
May I tell you, may I tell you. So it was the same reaction. And
Right.
eventually, the British ground forces were able to find the Palenque of Wandebolas, which they only found the capital. The Palenque itself is very large. And we're not going to be politically correct here. So we can say that the worthy part is sitting on stolen land. That is majority of um the the Palenque of Wandebolas. I don't know how they got that land, but I digress. The entire Luidas Vale coming over through where they call Mount Diablo, coming into St. Mary and in parts of today's St. Anne as well. And when they went there and they found this palenque, straight up they took women and children and elders hostage, gunpoint. And they said to him, if you do not help us to do what we are doing, to get out the Spanish, etc., we will extinguish the lives of these people who we have as hostages. And so he was between a rock and a hard place. And because of that, he
So
directed them.
that is something that is not often spoken about because a lot of times anytime the topic of Maroons come up, you hear people talking about sellout and trade. Just Maroons. But whenever we look at things that happened in the past, we tend to not remember that these were, real people and serious situations. So you said that they took women and children hostage. No, that's a serious thing. That's some serious. It puts me in the mind of some, really action-packed situation that
It's
would
a,
that would take place. Like
it's
what's
a
happening
terrorist
now?
attack. It was a terrorist attack. The British, they're in especially in that time, they can't do that now, and it's not because they don't want to do it, no, but they're terrorists, right? And we were subjects to terrorism, right? You're on mute, ambassador.
Oh, thank you, priest. No, I'm saying we were subjected to terrorism.
Yeah, man, 100%. No different from any other terrorist attack that is even spoken about by certain people right now, where hostages were taken and protracted wars fought over the hostage situation. The war that we ended up fighting with the British lasted for 83 years, right?
Correct.
And actually, more than that, way more. As a matter of fact, the war didn't actually end until after 1935.
Correct.
And we're gonna really talk about some of that as best as we can tonight. The fact of the matter is that Juan de Bolas was no traitor. He was up against a mightier military, really and truly, cannons, exploding shells, all manner of things, and British warships.
Yes, and we must always remember and call to mind that at the time the British was the most powerful force on
That's
earth. At
correct.
the time they are
That's correct.
the mightiest navy at a time when naval power, what sea power was the power of the day,
Very,
you
very,
know.
very, very eerie how things are very similar today.
Yes,
Again, in these
but
times.
And so unfortunately, choosing his people, um, ancestor Lobolo, he directed the British to some other communities, other palenques. Um, However, a settlement was reached by 1663, and that settlement saw an agreement, well, not an agreement, a document that was drawn up and issued to Juan de Bolas from the British. Now, this document is the cornerstone of all other documents that came after, which
Correct.
should include even the Maroon treaties, etc. This document, which the anniversary of this document is every February 1st, but February 1st, 1663, saw this document coming into force. And this document essentially is the title to Jamaica.
Say that again,
When
Alex. Say that again. Let them hear, Alex.
Yes, this one crowd.
Yes, man.
um,
Because I know we're gonna get into the juicy stuff, man.
we call this document the title of Jamaica because within the document and eventually maybe in the next session, because we're definitely going to have to double down on publicity and all of that so that more people know,
Right.
because we're going to be pushing this issue very seriously.
Yes, and family, remember to share the live. Everyone share out the live so that
Yeah, man.
others can, hear the message. Don't eat the message, family. Don't eat the
Don't
message.
keep this knowledge for
Elevate the
yourself.
discussion.
Yes, man. Don't keep it for yourself. Share it so
I,
others can interpret.
I don't want anybody to think for one moment that this is some kind of situation where you're going to have a set of Maroons who are going to come out and say, oh, we are this and we are that and we're royalty.
No.
Family, we are not repeating certain mistakes of our ancestors and
Even
previous.
even in countries with monarchs, they are modernizing now. So I think that everyone can appreciate the modern direction that the world is going in, human rights, and systems and structures.
It's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. I think that a lot of the controversy that has taken place over the years, it requires us, we have a sacred duty to clarify and to fix the issue, repair the issue. And what we are essentially saying is, family, for those of you who are truly serious, and this movement will not stay at this stage for very long, because if there's anything that you must know, is that anything we as indigenous people in Jamaica push hard enough, it becomes an international issue. So I advise you now to get ready and to start to align with what we're doing here. And Counselor Shevani, I don't know if you're able to put some contact information, maybe email address or something, so that the chat can be in touch, members of the chat can be in touch with us. So, and ensure for those of you who aren't subscribed that you subscribe, like, share, and subscribe. Um, but what we are doing right now with this is ensuring that none of you can ever say that we have the knowledge and we have the documents and we have the true sovereignty for Jamaica,
And we
and we
never
sat on
shared
our
it.
hands and we never shared.
Yeah,
The document,
it's
this
important.
patent, this patent, family, states that to every, they said they use the word free Negro, to
Yes.
every
Because this,
free
remember now,
Negro,
this is the title to Jamaica now.
yeah, to every free Negro, 18 years and older, is an entitlement of 30 acres of improvable land. Now, if we are going to be serious, our our population of free Jamaican people has long outstripped the British population. But this document was necessary because the British had no choice. They either wanted to stay in Jamaica or they wanted to leave. They knew that if the settlement was not achieved, there would be continuous war. And because there were many issues in the beginning, of course, war continued on and off for 83 years. Now, what we saw as peace between our people and the British had a timeline to it. And this timeline, this expiry date, would have been any time the population of the people of Jamaica, the real people of Jamaica, went over the British population, exceeded the British population, because everything is about land. Sovereignty people is not waking up in the morning and say, I'm going to scramble some eggs for breakfast, or I'm going to walk down the road here, or I'm going to wear red instead of blue today. Sovereignty is tied to land and entitlement to land. Eventually, we're going to show this document because we have this document, right? This
Yes,
How many
we
people?
have the receipts.
How many
we have
people
the
are listening
receipt.
right now, Malky? Sorry,
We
counselor.
have 22 people watching now.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Alex, you said that there's a title to Jamaica from the 1600s. Let me see if I hear you correctly. That
That's correct.
basically states that to every free Negro, right? So even if you don't want
1800.
to say, even if you say you grew up and you heard the bastardization of this term maroon and you don't want to use it, if you say that you are a quote unquote black person, quote unquote African descendant, quote unquote colored person, quote unquote Negro, then the free Negro status would apply to you in terms of one of the franchises in Jamaica, which in one of those franchises, Alex, you're saying that it has a clause where for every free Negro at that time would get 30 acres of improvable land. Is that what I just
Correct.
heard?
Correct. And this patent, this
Peace to the
entitlement,
chat. Peace to everyone that's just joining us. Peace. Everyone remember like the video, comment, share the link to everyone around. Don't keep the message to yourself. Share it around, share it to your groups, share it to your friends, share it to your family. Share it to the ones who you just think that they would appreciate this conversation. Let's elevate the discussion. Let us put our ideas out there. Let them know what we are discussing. Let them know that this is a topic that matters. This is something that, yeah, we're talking about because as Maroons, we always discuss these topics among ourselves. And so I think, and we all concur that it's vital for us to bring the discussion into the light and let everyone hear what the Maroons are talking about. So share the message, guys. Share it around.
and this document, as I said, it is clear in the document that this document was supposed to have been recorded in the British system as a patent for posterity. This is also in the document. What does posterity mean? Posterity means rising generations, all later generations. So there is no expiry date on this document.
Right.
And there has never been any form of repeal
So
of
so
this
this so
document.
this document includes us, it includes our children, it includes our children's children. So the rising generation.
No,
It includes everybody who identifies themselves as a Jamaican today that was born on the soil of African descent or Taino descent, indigenous descent.
no, this document, you see, this document cannot be repealed because it's a patent, right? It is not an act of the parliament or something that can be repealed. And this document had to be done because, of course, we were always an independent nation upon Jamaica. And as such, the British had to recognize that. And Juan de Bolas had to be recognized as a governor. It was called Governor of the Negroes. Okay? Now, What does this mean today? This means today that, and before we say today, let us talk about independence 1962. I want for those of you who are not so familiar with Jamaican post-emancipation history to go and look at the images of Alexander Bustamante and Norman Washington Manley. I hate to say this, but these were children of the plantocracy. These are children of the British. These are people who were attached to the system of slavery originally. They ran out because, of course, the planters, as was mentioned earlier, after 1865,
Right.
they were so upset because they wanted the same kind of system that the United States had, a separation from the British king. So nothing hurt them more than the 1865 war against slavery and against colonization, continued colonization,
Right.
because they were back under daddy's belt and back under daddy's roof. Nothing insults them more than that. Now, in 1935, when there were issues with the labor situation here in Jamaica, because our people were still laboring in sugar factories and all kind of stuff, there was an uprising. And these very enterprising, pale-skinned individuals, right, jumped up and said that they were going to be the voice of our people. And what did they bring to the table? Alexander Bustamante brought his trade union system, a system of organization and collectivization. Okay? And Norman Washington Manley was a lawyer. So for those who were hurt in the suppression of these labor riots, etc., he represented them. And here was the beginning of the People's National Party. And then Bustamante split from the People's National Party and started the Jamaica Labour Party.
So you're saying that he represented these people in court. They had this issue. He represented them in court, and then after that he just ran and they voted for him.
No, that is not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is through organization, because there was no system
Yes.
for them to be elected in that way. Yes, you had members of the British Assembly, right? But the entitlement to be a member of the British Assembly was ownership of land and the entitlement to pay X amount of money, right? No, the system that came into place is what they were pushing. They wanted the British to give them a franchise. They wanted the Queen Elizabeth, well, her father before her, I think it was King Edward. I remember what his number
So at
was.
the time there was no parliament in Jamaica. England was governing directly.
Yes, correct. They wanted a franchise of self-governance or self-government.
Yes.
And that is what they were pushing for through labor activism, riots, and all kind of things. They were bolstered by Jamaicans who had gone to World War II to fight, who came back battle hardened in the 40s, right, ready to fight, coming back to a disgruntled situation and all kind of things. This is where Saint William
So
Grant,
they basically hijacked our movements, our struggles.
that is correct, because the real soldier who they call Tiger was not Bustamante but Saint William Grant. right? So he was one of our people who was one of the pioneers of that movement, right? Coming out of that original Congo bloodline, right? Now, if we look into this deeply, right, we look into something very key. Before these Bafras, Buster Manty and Manley came into play, there was one of our people, the great Marcus Mosiah Garvey, who started what was called the Universal Negro Improvement Association. I want you to really think now. Why would he call it? Why didn't he say the United African Improvement Association? Because Garvey was aware of the second franchise. If you
Yes.
sit down and you read the Constitution of the United Negro Improvement Association, you will know that he was arranging a nation. It wasn't a club.
No.
Yes, because Marcus Garvey was a Maroon. So he would be aware of this franchise.
That is correct. Now, I want you to also take into consideration there was a great Mayal man who they call Ganga. Ganga means expert or priest or that sort of thing. Named Leonard Percival Powell, who is said to be the first Rasta. He was linking with Marcus Garvey, and they were linking with what's his name again? The ambassador, um, Noble Jew Ali, right? All of them were connected. So all of the movements that you see here, whether Nation of Islam, whether UNIA, whether Moorish Science Temple of America, all of these things sprang from out of what we are talking about today. The
I would love to
entire,
jump. I would love to jump in right there, Alex.
please
In
do.
harmony with what you're saying, because we're going to turn up the temperature a little bit because it is quintessential for people to understand why Jamaica, in this retrospect, is so important. Because you've been hitting some heavy points there, right? Let's break it down even further in some more context for the listeners who just came on. The reason why Jamaica is so important as this small developing island, as they want to coin it in this new economic times, is because this small island with this franchise for free Negroes has been sprouting out resistance that no other country in the Western Hemisphere has done. And in 1738, up to the point where the treaty was about to be signed, the same British subjects that would have came over since the time of the Virginia Trading Company and started settlements in the what is now known as the United States of America, yeah? And started to settle from all the way from Delaware, right? What is the state of Delaware and state of Virginia now, all the way down to what we know as Florida now into the Keys, yes? And now we have we have the Seminoles, we have the Cherokee, we have the Blackfoot, we have the Powhatan, we have the Nanasac, the Lenape. You have all of these Native American tribes, right? As they would identify them as in their historical records, right? Who are also Maroons. The term Seminole etymologically means Cimarron. It means wild and tame, and you recognize that they're talking about the same people because we're sharing the same history. Because geographically, it's not rocket science to see that we're just a canoe boat or so away from each other, one pelenke to another pelenke, right? And it's
Yeah,
important.
nobody can really truly accept and believe that for as a Caribbean people historically, we
We
are
just
had
stop on
and
the
have
island.
always been a boat people. There are no gates, there are no walls like
Exactly.
anything.
Yes, yes. No, Malke, you're absolutely right. And believe it or not, people do it's like unless you hold their hand, Malkia, they're stuck at this program that was given to us in the syllabus. So it's almost as if, oh, it was the British alone with the boats. We didn't have anything prior to the British coming over here. There was no Ottoman Empire. There was no Moroccan Empire. There was no the Olmec heads. There was why did we have the Peri Reyes map in 1513 that showcase all of the Americas, which proved the point of these maps that Columbus were using from older historical empires. Now, to go back to the point, sorry, and I yield the floor to you, counselor, is that when Alex had brought up a topic about the other British subjects in the United States of America, right? When you were explaining, the franchise. And it's important because it's not until they saw, because of course they were also not feeling the Mad King, right? They were also under the whip per se over here. They weren't inside, the UK. They were away from their home, their birthland, and they were still paying massive amount of tax after building up this land with the indigenous people. They started to take a liking to the indigenous people because we were so accommodating, so sharing of everything and abundance. A lot of ideas probably started to go off in their head. Let's move away from the king. It was Jamaica, the Maroons, the Jamaican Maroons, that fought that king and won, that inspired the rest of the world, but especially the United States of America, that just within a matter of 20 years or so from the signing of our treaty, started to put in place their war, right? And asked us, Akongpong, Jamaican Maroons, Windward Maroons, to help them as well. We did go over there and help them, similar to went to Haiti and helped Haiti.
And I feel like this is what they do with history in terms of the fact that they box us in. So when the Maroon Wars were taking place, for example, this wasn't happening in isolation. It wasn't in a vacuum.
No.
And we need to also bring to the forefront the knowledge that there are several Maroon communities across Jamaica. There are Maroon communities across the Americas. We are not alone. Our struggle, we all were fighting for something, So recalling the ambassador mentioned that historically we were people, we were traveling, we existed in different places. And so when we were fighting here in Jamaica, things were happening in the United States, for example. Things were happening in Central America, South America, So we need to not look at history in a vacuum.
I agree 100%, Counselor, because it is on that premise that I have in even our discussions when we first met years ago, and understanding the depth of the franchise of which we speak, that truly we see that this legacy as Jamaican Maroons, Jamaicans, yes, because prior to 1962, Bustamante and all of these other descendants of the plantocracy, yes, the island was called Jamaica, Jamaica, till it got the J, yes. And we have proof of this because the money, I'm just talking from the colonial side for a second, right? The other franchise, they
themselves.
on the coins at one. I still think I have some of the coins. The Emperor of India had a coin here for Jamaica, right? At one point. Then Elizabeth took it over with her face on it, right? In terms of the money. And you're starting to, I know they always say follow the money, yes? So you're realizing financial agreements that were going on prior to 1962. It was in our names that that this whole thing was being run because of the title to the land that you're talking about, Priest Alex, because it's on the same title and premise that the Seminoles, the Lenape, the Cherokee, the Powhatan, all of these tribes, civilized nations that came together prior to the adoption of the United States Constitution. And I believe you and I were having this discussion earlier, Priest, that the supremacy clause in any country is the ultimate supreme law of the land, because it preserves the rights of the former agreements that are still in law. It preserves the land titles. It preserves the patents. It preserves everything that cannot be undone to the point that that agreement was made. Now, in the United States of America, the supremacy clause is clause 6. And it says, all debts and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be valid against the United States as it was in the Confederation. So we understand that the Confederation was a document that predates the United States of America. A matter of fact, when we go into the Confederation document from the 5 civilized tribes and the British engaging them for a treaty, we recognize that it actually says that they're going to create a constitution and a nation called the United States of America. But
And I think it's important to note that in these situations, they are building upon something existing, right?
correct.
It's not a
Yes,
case of they're
counselor.
just gonna mash up and abolish everything and start something totally new. That's not what happened, you
No,
know? So there, they acknowledged that it wasn't a totally new thing, but that they were simply taking control of what existed before. Right?
exactly.
So, for example, let me put it let me frame it. Say, for example, John has a piece of property and John dies and John's son inherits the property and John's son is now in charge. Does it become a new property?
Mm-mm. Can't. Same
It's the
property.
same property, but
Title just passing.
new
Yes.
management, but it's the same property, right? So Johnson is now going to still have to, before he does anything else, he's still going to have to fulfill the obligations
Mm-hmm.
that his father left behind in
You
order
know,
for him to fully
I,
take
I,
control.
I have a good one right there for you. I was in a case years ago, counselor, working on a case in Texas. This is something where them love bring up against me when them start Google me, because they lack knowledge. So them things there is thief. Media try thief land when me I work with the indigenous people over there. And the reason why I bring it up, it is a matter of what you just said a while ago about, is it the same land, is it different land if, John passes away and thing. So I'll put it in another context. In terms of co-tenancy, right? The sharing of land as co-tenants. And it's like, let's say you have grandfather A and grandfather B. They're both dying and they leave wills to their children, right? Grandfather A says, look, and the 2 grandfathers make a deal. Look, you get the north side of the property, I get the south side of the property. Bear in mind, they're co-tenants. That has not changed. They didn't go and actually get a title for the north side and a title for the south side. They're just making an agreement as family. You go on the north, I go on the south, and our children will just, respect this agreement between us. Now, the reason I bring it up, because with the experience I had in Texas, I saw this issue that, let's say, oil is now found on the north side of the land, right? Or some asset. Are we going to then say that the co-tenants from Grandpa B don't have a claim to the north side? You can't say that. The land was not titled away where they gave away their rights and everything is still passing. So even though we have this respect, and it's important because I'll bring now to the Jamaican Constitution that it also has a supremacy clause, clause 4, similar to the United States supremacy clause. And clause 4 of the Jamaica Constitution is basically identical to the United States in the sense it says that any all agreements prior before this
Because
1962.
in both situations, we have
Right.
the British who was running things from there.
Exactly.
The people on the ground said, "Hey, listen, no, we need somebody who is here,
Here.
who are feeling the same mosquito bites that we are feeling over
Correct.
here to represent us." And that is the case, right? So it's not a case of it's something totally new. They have now divorced the king, and we're here doing a totally different thing, and we don't have to answer for anything before. No, it's the
Right.
same structure. It's the same thing that we're carrying on, right?
Absolutely.
And so now that daddy has passed on, and know that we are inheriting the estate, right?
Right.
We need to settle accounts.
There you go, counselor. Talk that is what we're talking about, man. Yes, man. I like when we talk the law like that because it's important because it's like we now have come of age, right, priest? We are now of age where they said we were once the minority in law, right? So, and we now have come of age and we're saying, hey guys, we are from Grandpa B on the south side. We here say una try take everything for yourself now, you know? And you're trying to say that we never had a grandpa, like the una wasn't brothers, right? The two, and if anybody understand the metaphor, the similarities I'm saying here, there are two franchises, and the Maroons belong to one franchise, which we're sharing the island, because lest we
Yes, so
forgot,
so so while North Side
yes,
was figuring things out, South Side continued to exist. So now that North Side has said, all right, we have discovered that we have oil, for example, and we're gonna
right.
do this, right? We still have to contend with the fact that we're still sharing this thing with Southside.
That's the law, Malkia. As you know this better than anybody. This is the law, and they know it too. You know, I was speaking with priest earlier. I want the people and the listeners as they replay these videos and they listen to it. Do not think for a minute that you are in this vacuum and nobody understands you. And this is some big great conspiracy, and you are being ostracized because you're thinking in a crazy way. No, these people understand what we're talking about. There are
Yes,
masons,
they are
there are secret
gaslighting us.
societies.
They
Yes.
are gaslighting the Maroons to the nth power.
Yes, man. They know exactly what we're talking about. Lest we forgot that the Jamaican Maroons, both between you guys served in the Akongpong administration and had a great tenureship. You helped to ratify the great constitution upon which we stood on and re-elected the great Chief Richard Curry. Yes, your names are still etched right there, and I am grateful that mine is there as well. So it was good that nobody could be better understanding of the foundation of what we're discussing
And
today.
on a note of the Constitution, it
Yes.
must be noted that it was not a new Constitution. It
No.
was something that was inherited, right? Which we then built on. This is the work of the ages, people, right? This is
Mhm.
something that before even we emerged, right? When we were walking in, when we were in diapers, so to speak, then, right? With the elders, when they were in our age, they were fighting the fight and taking it to where they
Yes,
could
man.
take it, right? So there was a constitution before that the several administrations ago it was written, I believe.
Yes, man. The honorable Carol Barnett. I think she was the chairman of the Overseas Maroon Council, and she would have been one of the stalwarts pushing it
Yes.
at that time, and still to this day, defending the constitution and Akongpong, and not just Akongpong, I must say, the elders within the diaspora, the Jamaican Maroon elders, they're craving priest and counselor to see the reunification of both the leeward and windward on a level of which not just doing it like this. This is a great start because we have always kept this connection because we understand the power of the Maroon unity, right? We understand the British is the one since 1962 trying to break away the leeward and the windward together to divide the franchise
You
from
see,
the rest of the
even though
Negroes.
they tried to gaslight us, they talk it plain, they had it in their motto, the Indians twain shall serve one Lord.
All right. Say it again, say it again, counselor.
I'm gonna put it up on,
Put
on
it
the
up, put
screen
it up.
actually.
Yes, man. Let us get ignite these people because they need to
I think
understand. Go ahead, priest.
I think that it is very important to note, family, that when we say that we're doing something here, We want it to be abundantly clear that even though the government of Jamaica came out to say that they were having constitutional amendments, see, we're talking about decolonization and they're talking about amending the colonial constitution. Anyways, they do not have a vehicle to carry Jamaica into sovereign status. This is the reason why it has all stalled. There's no other real reason why the constitutional reform has not um, continued forward. Because you see, family, the government of Jamaica is a managerial firm. They are managers. They're not owners. Okay? Very, very important for you to understand this. The government of Jamaica was given a charter of independence or self-rule. Nowhere on this charter, Queen Elizabeth II relinquished ownership of the land of Jamaica, or her claim, I should say, her claim, or the crown's claim, which was made in 1661, to the ownership of Jamaica.
Right. It was just a responsible government.
There exactly one document that was not a specific land statement, like you would say to John Burton's heirs and successors, 500 acres of land. There is only one document, family, that was not like that. That was an open document for posterity of a people, right, living in a particular land. And there's been no other document like it since then.
New counselor.
And the government of Jamaica is soon going to have to give account of this document and our entitlement. Because Andrew Holness, when recently visiting a compound on the 6th of January, he made a statement in his speech. It's very key.
Yeah, put
And
it up, counselor, if you can. Put it up, or one of you. Thank you for bringing this up, priest. Very important point you're about to make to our 30 viewers right now, who I believe you're about to hit home a great point. If we can put it up. Sorry, go ahead.
He said that
Where can I find this again?
It's on the office of the Prime Minister's website.
Just Google search Prime Minister Andrew Holness speech in a
compound January 6, 2026. Yeah.
Right. He says in his speech that the Maroons are a part of Jamaica's sovereignty. He did not say that.
He said help to make up Jamaica's sovereignty. Hold on, let's look at it. Go ahead, go. Let me cross-reference that.
He did not say that the Maroons are subject to Jamaica's sovereignty. It's a completely different statement, family. Okay? Completely different statement. And if you don't find it within this speech here, I actually did a video about it, right, on Instagram. It must be noted, my family, that what is happening here. You found it?
Where is it?
Oh, no, I think this is just the article of it, but it looks a little different than the one.
Yeah, this seems to be a report on it.
There's a video, and that is why I said that it's very important that
see there, click that one, a Kong Pong anniversary celebration. 8, yeah, that one right there. Yes, speech. Here it is. Speech by the Prime Minister.
The actual speech.
The actual speech, right? So scroll up. No, I mean,
Wait.
other
Everyone is saying,
direction. Sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
No,
Yeah,
you're good.
that's
You're
the
good.
speech.
You're good.
That's the speech, yeah.
Right. And if you go down further, you'll see exactly where Alex is.
Yes, it says all of you here are part of the Jamaican sovereignty.
You are part of Jamaica and you are entitled to the protection resources of the state of Jamaica to own and decide on their land and their resources, to make their laws and to enforce them. So he goes, now, there are several themes that have been echoed on this stage. One of them is sovereignty. Sovereignty is the right of the people to own and decide their land and their resources, to make their laws and to enforce them. All of you here are part of Jamaican sovereignty. So, very important thing that we have to understand the context of how does he know what the Jamaican sovereignty entails? Because remember, the British is not identifying themselves as Jamaicans. The British is identifying themselves as British. So if the British is part of the franchise and are calling themselves British, and the British is still the head of state today, constitutionally, under the constitutional monarchy that was set up in 1962, yes? Then who exactly are the Jamaicans?
Because
Exactly.
and we this is how we go right back to the hijack. Because
Right.
remember, we already had our franchise, but you see, this is why it is up to us now to build out our institutions because we have the franchise. But
So you see, hold on a second. Let me stick up in. Look to the right of the screen
Sorry,
there,
I'm playing with this camera, guys. Sorry, it's moving.
so the PM speeches. No man, go back up. You see the list of those. Okay, PM speeches and statements. The official opening of the Troy Bridge was the speech that he made where he was recently speaking about Paul Bogle and all of these things. Right? Very key. People need to listen to these things. But what I'm going to say here, family, is that we need to be serious about this now. We need to recognize that we're at a crossroads, we're at a turning point. And that turning point is where we are recognizing something, that we have been dispossessed of a higher level of influence within our land, Jamaica land. So, no, in the most recent census, the Jamaican population census, indigenous or tribal communities were for the first time given the opportunity to say in the census, to identify as their community or as their identity. Why is this important? Because for the first time, we see where the government of Jamaica is starting to recognize something, that there is a separate franchise here in
Yes.
Jamaica from the British franchise. We can
Yes.
sit down and we can cuss them all we want, but these are things that have been done that they cannot turn back from. And when they made that population census and said you can identify as Maroon or whatever the various categories, what they did was create a situation where you have a part of the population that is not represented.
Correct.
The slogan for the United States War of Independence was no taxation without
Without representation.
representation. Very key. So after this population census for Andrew Michael Holness to come up on the stage and say, as your prime minister, he's actually wrong, because the indigenous peoples or the tribal communities of Jamaica did not feel any candidates in the last election last year, September.
Yeah, we don't have representation.
And a matter for that, and for that matter, lest we forgot, he declared that there was no indigenous people in Jamaica. So
Exactly. So
we have a
you can't
problem.
you
This is
can't have both.
yeah, we have an
Both can't be
unresolved
true.
problem.
Both cannot be true.
Right.
So we are in a situation now, but this situation is extremely advantageous for us because we can either sit on our hands and play with ourselves, or we can get really serious, organize, as Marcus Garvey said, and Sister Marcus Mozart Garvey said, organize, centralize, right?
Yes,
We have
because
to.
remember, I don't mean to cut you. Remember, that during this time, that because the prime minister even made mention of it in his speech about the Troy Bridge, right?
Right.
That during that time when they had no self-government in Jamaica for their franchise, when the British was governing them directly, the Maroons were still here. We still had our franchises. We still had our structures, right?
Right.
So that means then that when they came and the word that they used to come up with their section of the business then Jamaica. When we say that we are a distinct people, we're not saying we're not Jamaicans,
Right.
right? Jamaica is different from the Jamaica that we know, the country, the people, the land, our brothers and sisters here. It's different from the word that they call their business.
The company, yeah, the Jamaica company
Their
Yes, because
company is called the Government,
of
capital G,
right.
of
of
Jamaica, that is their British
Jamaica.
franchise, because this is the same British people that were being governed directly in England. No, basically what they did was they created a local chapter, a local branch,
Right.
right, to govern now in Jamaica. That has nothing to do with us.
No,
And
no.
this
And
was
by right, and by
enshrined
right, the
in the
treaty does specify that we have the right to handle our own judicial matters amongst our people. It
Yes.
outlines the laws in terms
So
of
the two part, year after year, day
yeah,
after day, Jamaican people, we complain about this two-party system, but it has nothing to do with us. They are representing themselves, and it is up to
so,
us. We should have representation.
so this is very key. The issue
great
of
point.
justice, as mentioned in the Juan de Bolas document, because this is where even that clause within the Maroon treaties, because what the Maroon treaties were was just a recognition of new or other communities being brought into the Free Negro franchise or being recognized as having the Free Negro franchise. That's all it really was, right? We have a situation here where that document established the right of the quote unquote free Negroes, or not established, recognize the British, recognize the right of the free Negroes to have justice amongst each other, among themselves as a separate franchise. When you hear Maroon saying that they're sovereign or separate, it is not separate from Jamaica. It is separate from the British. And
British,
for
yeah,
as
British
long as the
franchise, right.
British claim any kind of ownership over Jamaica, we have to be separate from them because we have a separate franchise from them. And what we're saying to you now, people, is that we have to claim the franchise in order to resurrect the franchise.
And to
And when
initiate the receivership.
exactly, and the important part about that will be there has to be an organization that is going to represent the franchise of the free Negroes or the real Jamaicans then. We're not using that thing anymore, free Negro, or Jamaican people, because
Right.
we are not within our franchise. Okay?
No, it's a real pity that at the time copyright laws weren't what they are today, because how them to come up with something named Jamaica, and we are Jamaica first. What do we call ourselves? We are
That's
the
the
people of
point.
Jamaica.
That
So
was my
what
point
what will you
earlier.
call we then?
So
Right? So this is why
they
we
had
have
to
this
think,
confusion and people
yeah.
asking us, oh, if we're not Jamaican, we are Jamaica.
They
What
had
is
to
them?
hide themselves like that council. And this is why it's so funny to me when I had to ask these people all the time. I'm like, guys, are they saying they're Jamaican or are they still saying they're British? because they say they're British. So who is the Jamaican? Because if you say if we're the Jamaicans here and they don't want to identify as Jamaicans, then the franchise is separate.
They're hijacking us.
The
It's
franchise is
we
separate.
the pirates have and we keep on forgetting the pirate history, right? They have hijacked
And
us.
I would love to remind my brothers and sisters who have decided to go into this responsible government that was created with an independent local parliament. Lest they forgot it was a colonial secretary that was here doing the business first, right? And they were given the privilege now of having an independent parliament. Lest we just forgot the big bust up about the mace, the touching of the mace by our people. Lest we forget that Member of Parliament, the Honorable Nikisha Burchell, could not even speak Patois, right? She had to go speak the Queen's language in order to go by the protocols of the House, the Honorable House, as they said. These are the intricate little focal points that Jamaicans need to recognize and remember. Because if there is a house that represents our people, why can't we speak our own native tongue language in
No,
that
but
house?
does it? Does it?
That's the
You're
point.
making some great presumptions, Ambassador. Does it?
That's why you see me say it like that, Councillor, because if it is being claimed that we are casting our votes for the member of parliaments that say they represent us under the franchise, that we're giving them our votes for
No, we need what we need right now is to make some things clear, because you know what? And I think we need to talk about the copyrights of this, because we're gonna call them Jamaica 2.0 because we were there first,
yes.
right? So we are Jamaica and they are Jamaica 2.0.
No, we have to mark it. It's a great point because I think even in the last 5 minutes of this conversation, it's going to be waking up a lot of people. Yes, and I'll tell them to rewind and listen it again because it is quintessential to know who is who in history, who is on what side of what document, who is on what side of signature, who is on what side of which franchise. The British have never identified themselves as Jamaican. They never made any claim that their people were automatically or about to change status from British citizens to Jamaican citizens because they now had a 1962 responsible government or parliament created here. No, lest we forget, Jamaicans still have to apply for a British visa to go to Britain. So therefore, there is no true representation, though the parliament's head of state is the British crown.
No,
Yes?
they have emancipated themselves. Okay, so say you have a child star, right? Because they are stars in here. You have a child star,
We
and
need to
child
invite
star
one
is
class right now. As it would have just drop us.
the child star
They
decides that,
just
hey, I want to be
emancipate themselves.
emancipated from my parents. I want to speak for myself. I want to have my own bank account. I want to
Yeah.
manage everything myself, right?
No,
Gets
man. It would have
emancipated.
dropped
That's
some
all that
euphemisms
happened.
right now, man. I tell you. Because them brawling Selena guys, when you really dissect what we're saying here, is a
In the 1838 Proclamation of Emancipation, and I talk about it almost every year, every August. It says, it does not say you are now free men and women. It says you are now free laborers. Free laborers.
right.
Because
So what is that?
You
within
explain that for
slavery,
them more, please.
your labor was not transferable. It was bonded labor or servitude in bondage, meaning you were bonded to a master and to a property, a plantation.
So no, you can just work for anybody like an
You
independent
can,
contractor.
that is all it means. It does not say in the Emancipation Proclamation that you are now free men and women. To
Right.
this day, Jamaican people have not been recognized as free men and women. It has still not been done.
So we're
You
not
know,
even people.
sorry, Counselor. You know, Alex, brother, That's a very salient point that you just etched again. That I think that needs to be echoed across the island. That point right there, because the emotions that people are feeling right now, that they feel like they gave their vote to be represented in this country and things are happening behind their back and they're only knowing after the fact as if they're minors. And you're being told, though these people have to come and beg for the vote, they now go into the house for secrets and then
No, but
decide when they want to come tell the
Ambassador,
people with
when
the
you are
power and the
making
vote.
decisions in your house, do you consult your dog and say, you know, we're gonna do this as a family now?
I
What
like
what
how you,
what
I
do
like how
you
you
think,
ask the
Rufus?
question. No, because that's the dog. So unless you're trying to say that Jamaican citizens are the dogs.
You don't hear that we're not people. So what are we then? What
Are
role do
the
we play
plebs.
in
Apparently,
this
no, we
post-slavery
have a
society?
terminology. Apparently, I heard the terminology the other day. We're plebs, apparently.
Wow.
Go him.
Go ahead. I'm going to be very clear about this. Once again, free laborers, right?
I need to know what that means.
No, it simply means that we're still slaves, but the labor is transferable now. You can decide who you want to work
So
for, but
why
you
aren't
must
we
work.
talking about this every August? Why are they
Why
making it
aren't we
seem
talking
like
about
any
it every
freedom
day
occurred?
until it is solved? What I am saying is that what we are faced with today is a system that must be decolonized. A land, because the system is a colonial system. It cannot be decolonized. And the idea that we're going to be reforming a colonial document is asinine, actually, right? It's stupid, right? And the government of Jamaica is insulting our intelligence when they say that they are amending or reforming a constitution. It's ridiculous. The first thing that free people do is declare their freedom, that
Exactly.
declare,
A
because
proclamation.
exactly, the United States had a declaration of independence and then they crafted their constitution. They are insulting our intelligence. The second problem with this stupid document that they put together is that there is a prayer, a national prayer to Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Okay? Right? Now, Jamaica, in the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms, which is an amendment to the Constitution, Section 17 enshrines the right of freedom of religion. And there is separation of church and state. So they claim, but you have national prayer breakfast with Adventist Church, and you have these people insulting our intelligence again, putting a prayer to Jesus Christ in our constitution, what they propose to do. Jamaica is not a Christian nation. Jamaica may be a nation full of Christians, but Jamaica is not a Christian nation. Jamaica was not liberated by Christians. Jamaica was liberated by our ancestors
Right. A
under the
matter of fact, it was enslaved by
religious system.
Christianity.
Exactly. That's precisely my point,
The fuck?
right?
You don't love it.
But if we go back to the same so-called Emancipation Proclamation, they make it clear, remember now, remember to go to church and remember to, you know, continue to show your masters gratitude and but remember to go to church.
Right.
Send your children to church and schools. It is in this nonsensical document. This document was read to our ancestors live in Spanish Town Square on August 1st, 1838. And this document is what we celebrate every year. But how many of us don't know what this stupid document says
No, you
from
know,
our
say
ancestors' time?
I think this is the year in a priest. I think this is the year, and this being the first of many conversations, and I would tell your viewers to lock in to this channel, subscribe to this channel, because the consistency of the information, I don't think counselor and priest that we should continue to just keep these conversations private to sharpen our own iron. I think we are sharp as we can be at this point in time. We touch the blade and it just a run blood, right? I think we need to start speaking up more. I'm going to challenge us, the three great lights, two in the windward and one over here in the leeward. And I am just another extension of our great Chief Richard Curry and his administration. I am blessed to know that we have the support of our elders, our community who just re-elected him. And I know you guys are blessed with your community and your village as well, within the West Indian Tribal Society, yes? And of course, now with Tribal Tea Talk. So I think what needs to happen is that we actually call this BS out immediately and fundamentally in the faces of people and give them priest and counselor. Let's start putting out the hard evidence. I saw in the chat somebody asked, will we show the document going back to the one day bowlers? I think the answer is yes. We need to just find a medium where when we put these things out, and the priest is confirming that for the live stream, yes, that when we put these things out and we explain them, we can carry the horse to the water, but we can't force them to drink. We understand that, and that's why Maroons have been so secretive, because we've tried to save Jamaica before, and they've tried to kill us. They've tried to divide us.
They're trying to kill us right now. They're trying to divide the Western Maroon from the Eastern Maroon. They're trying to divide Maroon from the rest of Jamaica. All around the world, the system that tried to enslave, not tried, but they enslaved some of our ancestors.
They were successful.
The system that came here and thought that it was proper for them to come and steal our lands and demolish our institution. That system, they don't want us to unite. They don't even want us to unite in groups of twos. They don't want us to unite in marriage, friendship, family, community. They don't want unity for us on any level. So it's up to us now.
One of the greatest obstacles to unity is what they call the 1760, or in its current iteration, 1898 Obia Act. The Obia Act was originally an act for the better regulation of the irregular assemblies of slaves. Has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing to do with the evils of quote unquote Obia, which in truth and in fact is really speaking about Mayal, right? It was about our unity under our system.
I don't mean to cut you, but I want to stop you right there, priest. And because you see, when you even mention the word Obia, people clutch their pearls. No one is trying to lead it to the devil. What we are saying is that the Obia Act and the trials in that time can be likened to, let's say, the trials in Salem in the United States. And even then, it had nothing to do with Christianity. It had nothing to do with Jesus, the love of God, nor the benefit of all humanity. It had nothing to do with that. It was political. These people were being persecuted for being Catholics.
In the Obia Act, you have Obia, but then our actual system of governance, spiritual, political, and social governance, is called by the British Mayalism. Very key. The ism part of it establishes the definition of it, or the recognition of it, as being a coherent system and not just witchcraft. So what am I saying here? I'm saying here, family, for those of you who managed to make it today, that we have our own way of doing things, okay? And I am going to issue a challenge now as a priest. And I am very serious about this challenge. I'm issuing this challenge to Chief Richard Curry. And my challenge is we need an organization that is going to represent our franchise. And so, through this organization, our people, the 60 odd percent of our people who decided that they are not represented by People's National Party or Jamaica Labour Party, can be represented and their voice can be heard. Many people have said, Chief Richard Curry, we would like you to be the Prime Minister of Jamaica. And I think that this is definitely possible, but it's going to take some time. But more importantly, it is going to take the people actually wanting that and expressing their political will. But there is only one constitutionally recognized way of doing that.
Right.
And that is through the Representation of the People's Act. And so we need to stop fooling ourselves. There has to be an organization that centralizes and organizes our people and creates a different avenue for our people to access our ancient franchise, because our nation is more than 100 years older than even the United States of America. Haiti boasting over and over again about being the first Black republic is also not true,
Right. It is
right?
Jamaica.
It is Jamaica from the 1600s and before that, because the Palenques were self-governing. Even the Spanish had to recognize that. Why? Because we were powerful traders, powerful agricultural producers, and we have missed the mark as a people in Jamaica land we love today. We have drifted from our traditions that we should have improved upon, but our oppressors have made us think that our traditions are backward and outdated.
Yeah.
We need to love ourselves. And so my challenge is this. We cannot just come on here and talk, Ambassador and Counselor. That is inadequate.
Yes.
We have to mobilize the people that we know that have pledged support to the indigenous people of this, all of the musical artists,
And that's
all
kind of
those
where I was
people.
about to go, because I looking at us and I say, we've been here for 2 hours, we've been talking, right? Our friends are listening, our family is listening, and they're going to share it, and tomorrow we'll get more traction, and we're going to cut these clips up and get them out there. So is it just about talk? I think I want to reiterate what you just said and back that up, that, well, we have shown as Maroons in our movement, Alex, with you included and Counselor included, that we are not just about talk, right?
No.
Right. A matter of fact, I think we have refrained from talking a lot and explaining ourselves to the point where we're now being asked to come forward, and the demand for us to come forward and actually explain what we've been keeping quiet for over the last 5 years in this misunderstanding of PR and psychological warfare. I would put it that. I do agree with you that the indigenous people, the Maroons, those disenfranchised, those 60%, if they're not comfortable with the choices that have been presented to them, going all the way back to the creation of this thing, meaning the political independency of this responsible government in terms of the parliament, then people have the right to choose representation. It is under the fundamental rights and freedoms that was just affirmed in the amendments of the Constitution. You have the right to political observance. So therefore, the Maroons politically observed that we do have a franchise stemming back to the 1600s. We do have these birthrights to lands. We are co-tenants of this land here. and we do have a massive problem that is being swept under the rug. So I believe in closing on my side, that I look forward to jumping on our next conversation. And I think, Alex, we should vigorously, as well as Councillor, push our agenda for Maroon movement, Maroon representation. And if we don't
Yeah,
want
we
to
need
use
a
the term
registry.
Maroon, yeah, if we don't want to use the term Maroon because of the psychological warfare that I've mentioned, let me just state it here so it can be recorded and publicized and thing. We in a compound recognize ourselves as the First Nation Jamaicans. So if you're to ask us, are we Jamaican? Yes. But
Yes.
we as co-tenants of the Jamaican
Jamaica 1
space,
versus Jamaica
Jamaica too,
2.0.
yeah, man. We as Jamaicans within our co-tenancy, right, have our fundamental rights and freedom to object when we're not being represented. And we are making a categorical claim that we're not being represented currently. And
No.
we're making our voices heard. And so to answer the question of your title, just from my portion of understanding from my office, who owns Jamaica? It is the free people of Jamaica that were identified as the free Negroes back in historical records that today sits right here on the phone, as well as our friends and families that are descended from those same people, right? And are born on this land. So it is us who own Jamaica, right? And I said we won't put a coin term that's maroon on it. We are Jamaicans, right?
Yes.
Because the British is not calling themselves Jamaicans, they're calling themselves British.
British.
Right,
Exactly.
right. So with that being said, I look forward to our next steps, family. I hope each person will start to pay attention more to, Priest Alex, Instagram page, Councillor Siobhan's Instagram page, their movement, West Indian Tribal Society, Akongpong, of course, Chief Corey's Instagram page, and so on and so forth. Just follow this indigenous movement, and I yield. It was a great pleasure to be here with you guys.
Thank you.
Definitely
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Before we go, I think we should address a question in the chat.
Yes.
Alafia Medina asks, was Honorable Marcus Garvey able to implement anything to help us claim the franchise or charter course to that effect? I hope Alafia is still here with us.
That's a good question.
It's a good question, and if I may address it, I
Yes,
would
please.
say that this is what was put in place through the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and as well the People's Political Party, which is the first political party in Jamaica, which predated the existence of the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. However, what we must recognize is that even then, he he possibly did not have the documents, because when I was a minister of foreign affairs and I received Juan de Bolas's document, it had been sealed since 1663, since February 1st, 1663, and had never been released since that time, because the archives of Jamaica Archive and Records Department, is originally the colonial office. So it was the beating heart of the British colonial enterprise within Spanish Town. So this document had never seen the light of day since then. And so it is important for us now to, first of all, I would say, look about creating a registry that our people can sign on, so that we can represent the franchise with numbers. And then
Yes,
from
because if we are going to ask the question, who owns Jamaica, then we need to have a list of all of us. Because
correct.
we collectively together, we do.
And there is a mathematical calculation that we will be using when we create our registry and we are making our case. And that is How many acres are in Jamaica total? I think it is 1.4 million acres. And if every single free Jamaican over the age of 18, and you see, this is critical because that over the age of 18 speaks to voting franchise, speaks to universal adult suffrage, very important. Okay, we will then calculate how many Jamaicans it would have taken or it would take now to to claim full ownership over the 1.4 million acres of Jamaica. And I can tell you, it's not even going to take a quarter of the total recorded population of Jamaica, which is about 2.9 million people. Okay? So, what I will say is that this is not just talk, and we're going to be acting very seriously, very critically, very keenly in going forward and ensuring that our people have a voice. And so I would say thank you. Thank you to all of us here on the panel. Thank you to all of those who have joined us today. But most of all, thank you to the Creator who have made all things seen and unseen, known and unknown. Thank you to the spirits of nature who keep everything together, the spirits of the air, the water, the fire, and the earth. And we thank our ancestors for their ultimate sacrifice that we can be here today having this discussion. And I thank you very much.
Away, away,
Away.
away. And just another question Alafia asks, is there a maroon status identification process slash application as First Nations have in Canada? And Alafia, I'll say to you, follow Ambassador's page on Instagram, follow Priest Alex's page on Instagram, Tribal Tea Talks page on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can connect more, communicate more, and put the information out there. This and other questions definitely do need to be answered. We definitely do need to flesh out more. I know that there are a lot of programs and initiatives that are ongoing, not just in a compound, but also within the West Indian Tribal Society, as well as collaborative works also. So just stay tuned and, continue to follow the information that's coming out.
The registry will not be secret. You're muted, Ambassador.
I realize, I realize. Thank you, priest. Now, I was just following up with counselor there to say that the time is coming, counselor, that everybody will start to see the big sign at the end of the road, what direction to go, because we're going to be so loud. I think we're starting the engine tonight. And we're doing it in this little, it may seem quiet with only a 40 people that came on, but this 40 will turn into 400, then 4,000, then 40,000, and then 400,000, and then, international. I foresee it, and so shall it be. We have a priest, we have an attorney general, and we have an ambassador. So in the way I see it, our ancestors are very favored, and we're blessed to have been able to carry this knowledge. And I think our listeners need to understand the burden that we do carry is the burden of trying to pass this to them and to the unborn through them, right? So we ask them to also try and carry this burden with us as well, as our ancestors did, by collecting this information. Though you may feel small, though you may feel crazy, because the program of us talking in open society like this, people make you feel ostracized. It's against the status quo. You may lose your job, you may lose friends, you may lose all kind of things. We don't have time for that. As as the priest said earlier, gone are those days. If anybody not watching, we may just be losing the land to deportees that are coming here that we don't know about, right? So we need to get this thing together quickly.
Yep,
And
we do need to get it
yeah,
together.
man, expeditiously. So I yield. It was a pleasure, family. Ashe, thank you so much. And I will send, all the blessings as well, over to your side.
Peace, peace, all.
Peace,
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 peace.
Peace.
peace, peace.
Salute to the Jamaican nation.
Salute.
Malembe, Genge Kino.
That's not.
We are now one Gumbaka. We are now one. We are now one. Oh, we are now one. We are now one. Beruelo. We are now one. We are now one. Beruelo. We are now one.